Hear my slapper slumper in the background. Something I produce. So yeah, this is what I'm doing right now. I was gonna try to go out and get some feedback, but it's raining again in Northern California, so I don't want to wet my equipment up, and I don't want it to get wet. So I'm gonna sit back and relax. I apologize for some reason going in and out every time too, and real conversation are the topic. Streaming live right now on a bunch of different platforms. Once again, I apologize that for some reason internet signal is going in and out. So I'm check up on myself a little bit to see where I'm at on here and where I'm at live. Because I don't want to be trying to stream live and all of a sudden be knocked off. You know what I mean? It makes no logical sense. Just bear with me. Going around in circles right now. Circles, circle. All right, so I see myself on there. I'm on. All right. May have to pop back in and pop off. I'm not sure. Yeah. All right. All right. It's the Rose Room discussion with me, your host, MLRose. Hope everything is going right. Dynamite for you. Um, yeah. Today I'm just gonna do the same thing I did last time on one of my other podcast shows. I just went into a story time mode. Tell a little story. Um, this one, I think I'm gonna go into something that happened uh previous, probably within this few years. So I lived in an apartment complex that was located in a place called Watsonville, California. If you look it up, it's toward near, almost near Central California, or somewhere. Sorry about that. I apologize. It's near Santa Cruz, California. Near Monterey, almost in that area. It's a Foreman town. It's pretty small. It's not really that big, but some parts of it is very large. They have like hidden old castles and stuff like that. So the place itself is used to be an indigenous, um I would say, like compound or something of that nature. It was owned by people that were indigenous to the land, and then I guess it was taken over by a gentleman, and then he had a castle, and then some other stuff happened. It was really a traumatic story. It's a long history, and now it's a farming town because it's owned by the United States now. Um, Long story short, let's get to the story. I moved into this place um on 30 West Beach Street. Yeah. Um, Across the way there was I would say, a older model type of 4-story garage, parking garage. Um, very different from what I've, lived in. I came from a much more prominent place, so it was something new for me to see that. Um, there was a lot of activity of children tagging adults, a lot of people that were involved with drug usage and gang type of activity. Across the street, there was a park not too far away from the apartment, which had a lot of people that were sitting there that were registered sex offenders. Very strange because they would sit out there all day, and people that are registered, you would think people be up at arms, but the way it goes down in certain places, it doesn't really bother certain people sometimes. So I couldn't really figure that out. Um, in the complex I lived at, I think two registered sex offenders lived there. I didn't understand that one neither because there was a bunch of people who live under me had two children, and then another woman that lived on the third floor with me also had two children. She had a baby and a younger son. So it was really traumatic to see that they had that going on. But in the building, there was a lot of you can tell drug usage. People who had came from places like Southern California and other places. Me myself, I had just moved in there permanently because at that time I couldn't find a place. Like I was looking for an apartment. Um, I couldn't find anything in that area because when I moved over to that time frame, it was pretty much a lot of stuff was taken. So I had to find something to move in at that momentarily time for a permanent, you know, roof over my head because I didn't want to be in any type of shelter or waiting for a place. And the place that I was looking for was it was full. I had a job and everything, so it was no problem with having an income and already had money saved up. But being in a place was a very eye opener. For one, I had a neighbor who had garbage in his apartment filled up to waist high. He didn't remove none of the garbage. He had a mental issue. I think he had done some jail time also too. So he was locked up previously. For some reason, I didn't understand. It didn't take him off the lease when he got locked up before, so he would just keep coming back. Um, I think he had a fixed income, so I think they knew that that was the reason why they didn't kick him off because the place, you know, they accepted certain types of things. And we had military people in there too, also. There was a lady in a wheelchair who was in the military previously, another gentleman who was in the military, and another two other gentlemen that were in the military. Most of them kind of stayed to themselves, so they didn't really communicate with the other groups because they knew that they were involved with drugs. They would usually say hi and bye and kind of keep their distance. Um, Within probably I would say a month of me moving in there, I would say my car was broken into by one of my neighbors. He was a drug addict. A younger guy too. That's what was kind of strange about it. Like he was like probably like 19 or 20. I never seen people that going off of drugs at a young age. I kind of found that kind of like strange. And they would do heroin, that type of drug. So they would be in the hallway sometimes, or in these areas of the stairwell where they would be shooting up, and you would catch them, and then they would try to walk away, and you would see like the marks on their arms. And then sometimes when I go across the way because we had to pay a fee, like I think it was a $90 yearly fee to park into the garage. So for 1 year, you pay $90, and you'll be able to park in the garage. They'll give you a garage sticker, and you'll be able to go in and out, have no problems. Only thing about the garage is strange that it closed down about like at 7 o'clock, and they would lock the gates. So if you like one time I'm coming home from work, I couldn't get in the garage because I work late, and then when I come back in the morning time, because my job started at like at 9 o'clock p.m. I didn't get off until at least around probably 7 or 8 a.m. in the morning. So I would have to when I come back, I would have to wait till the gate open, and they would open the gate at 7 something, and then I'll be able to park my vehicle, then be able to go to sleep, and then go to school. So yeah, a lot of major drug usage there. It was so bad they had cameras in the garage everywhere. That was another thing that kind of woke me up. Even though my car got broken into, and there was like multiple other cars got broken into in there, like probably 7 or 8 cars, because the gentleman that I lived next to, um, his son was a drug addict, and when he gets on a binge, he would go and break into vehicles around the neighborhood and steal stuff from people who didn't really have anything, and then he would go and try to sell it, and it was just really ridiculous because he couldn't really sell it anywhere because the pawn shops was like they didn't really take anything. And I guess one time he had stole my I had a firearm clip, a gun clip, because I had just moved in. Not like I said, I only had been there for a month. I was trying to get the rest of my stuff to a storage. So I was putting it in the back of my trunk because I thought when I first moved there, I seen cameras on every level. It was locked up. You couldn't get in when they shut the gates and the stairwell gates. So I thought it was a fairly secure area, and they had cameras outside. So lo and behold, you know, that was still a problem somehow. They ended up catching him. He ended up getting kicked out and becoming homeless. So he became homeless. That's the funny part about it. He was sleeping in the garage now, so that was much more of another difficulty. Till they had the police had to come and escort him out of the garage, and then he was just pretty much running around the neighborhood just doing criminal activity. So yeah, it was a very shocking eye opener. Um, to be in a place called like Watsonville, that small of a farming town that had that much gang activity and drug usage going on. It just opened my eyes to a lot of different things. I said, wow, you know, I didn't realize that, little small places like this had such a problematic situation going on with tons of people, sex predators, drug addicts, gang violence, and to be a small little town to have so much happening in just a small, um, approximate area is just like, damn, like, wow, this city's like probably the size of half the size of, I would say, Fairfield. So it was like, wow, really deep. One of the other things that was going on in that building is that the building had previous tenants who were, I guess, OD'd. Some of them were attacked. The place that I had moved in, I had found out like probably 4 months into my lease that a gentleman was killed in that apartment over a drug dispute. So that kind of shocked me. The manager didn't inform me with any of this information, but one of the tenants told me. They said, "Oh yeah, the place that you're staying in, the former tenant that was in there was attacked and he was murdered um, due to his drug usage and not paying back some type of known gang member or drug dealer or some of that nature. I don't know. I don't live in that lifestyle, so I don't really know how that operates. But yeah, took me for a whole, you know, twist. Like, wow. And then he said, "Oh yeah, because if you go to the wall in your apartment, there's a stain that they covered up with paint." And I said, "What?" So lo and behold, I went there one day with a little bleach, and a little towel. I kind of damped the wall to see because I know the reaction from blood with bleach will come out orange. You'll see the stain, and sure enough, boom, there's a stain. And then I started to clean around the apartment, and once again, boom, I started to see more stains. So I guess the gentleman was shot by a wall. He picked himself up, dragged himself towards across the wall into the restroom where he passed away and was deceased when they found him after, I guess, I don't know how many days. But yeah, it was just an eerie feeling. And the sad part about it is that they didn't really do a lot to clean it up. And then I went onto the website of the company, and they were telling that this video, the building had been there since the 1920s or 30s. So, and then I looked up all the history. There was a lot of different murders, rapes. Uh, I said, wow, this building has a lot of just the energy here is no good. And I live next to a guy named Francis. I'm just calling him Francis Gritson. I can't say his name, but Francis Gritson. He was the neighbor I was telling you about, and he also cooked drugs. So what he did with his place, he leased it out to people who were in gangs. They would come in there and do stuff. Then he would come back and cook up drugs, and then he would leave for weeks upon weeks on whatever binge he was on, and then come back. So one of those days he came back. Me and my relative, we seen him in an elevator. We were listening to music. He kind of, tried to giggle and conversate with us, but I didn't really feel his vibration because I feel like he was a very treacherous person. I can just pick that up. Um, he then proceeded to head towards the apartment. We would head towards ours because we were next door to each other. We're neighbors. Told him, have a nice day. Um, probably about probably 4 to 5 hours later, we're watching a movie. You know, we're in there watching a movie. We're comfortable. I had did my college work, knocked out a paper, and did like two tests. Um, as I'm sitting there getting ready, prepared to grab me a nice juice and something else to snack on, we hear a loud boom, like a bomb goes off. Then we hear another boom, another, and a bigger. The building shook. So we not know what's going on. All of a sudden, the fire alarm is going off, real loud. Um, Next thing you know, smoke is coming into our apartment through the restroom area because that's kind of like where he was at. So our restrooms are not adjoined, but the piping is adjoined and the walls are kind of thin. So come to find out, he was cooking methamphetamine inside of his bathtub. And what happened was I guess he mixed it wrong and it blew him up out of his underwear because by the time he had the ambulance and the fire department came, he was in his drawers and it blew him out of his pants or something. I don't know what happened. I just know that that's the image I seen of him on the ground in the fire department. Shout out to them in Watsonville and in those areas, and also the ones that were in Santa Cruz and all of them. They came up there real quick. They had a good response time, but they had to chop down the wall because the fire had gotten to the walls because the building was so old. It wasn't renovated for like they were undercoated. Like they were not up to code. Like certain amount of years you're supposed to renovate the apartment complex after like 20 years, or they never renovated it. So they were so much out of code. They had code violations on the actual doors. Um, Shout out to the Red Cross. They gave us a place for a while. They gave us a good little hotels and motels to stay at. Um, I ended up moving anyway. thank the Heavenly Father, thank the Most High, Jehovah, in the name of the Messiah. Thank him that that happened because I was locked into a contract with them for like a year and a half, and it would have been very unpleasant to stay there any longer, really, truly. So sometimes things happen for a purpose and a reason, and I think that gentleman, him doing those drugs or whatever he did, it kind of backfired on them and their contract, and then they got caught with a lot of stuff because I was paying rent, and through the rent I was also paying for the insurance because in California now you have to have renter's insurance. You just can't, you know, rent something and not have insurance now. So through that, I was paying for renter's insurance, and they were scamming a bunch of people because, come to lo and behold, a lot of people was paying renter's insurance to the building, the company, thinking that they were paying a company, and it come to find out they weren't paying nobody. They were just collecting the money and stealing it. So yes, 30 West Beach Street. It's the Pandora Apartments. I guess they've been there for a long time. I'm not really 100%, but yeah, those apartments, man. Be very careful if you move to that place. Um, that place was just it was horrifying. I never had that much of a horrifying experience. Um, the gentleman had bugs in his apartment, so when the apartment had blown up and the ceiling had burnt, and he had burnt the ceiling and through the walls. I guess whatever he had in his apartment came running out in the water because they had to spray water into his apartment. He was on the ground in his underwear, and dirt coming into his mouth, and I don't know, because I guess the drugs that he had was trying to cook up. They knocked him unconscious for a moment, but I guess the fire department has stated that this is an ongoing situation with this gentleman. That this wasn't the first time. And the sad part about it, it was children that lived underneath him and us. Like they lived in a two-bedroom. So the two-bedroom was kind of joint with a studio and a one-bedroom. So they joined them together. And then what happened was they'll stretch the distance of both our apartments. So we both had the different bedrooms, like one bedroom or a studio. It would join in underneath us as a whole unit. And all that stuff went downstairs on their television. They had kids. I felt sorry for them. Um, because at first it was people that was in the building that was elderly, and since the building was not up to code, um, I had to inform the fire department. There was people in there that was in wheelchairs, so they had to go in there and grab all these people. It was just a lot of stuff going on, a lot of chaos. Um, I didn't understand how this was just a thing, and it let me see that there's a lot of unchecked criminal activity going on right under people's eyes, and sometimes people will act like they don't see anything. They'll act as if it doesn't even exist while it's happening right in front of their eyes. Um, I didn't get it, but you know, like I said, this is the type of lifestyle that most people had to deal with, and a lot of people that was in the building, like I stated, were senior citizens. Some of them were people that were former military, and they were older, and it was just crazy. They were being taken advantage of. They were like literally being dogged. One guy I seen, they had attacked him and took his check. So he's walking down the street one day, and we're coming back from a restaurant. Because that's what we did. We went out and ate a lot. We went to Monterey. That's where I pretty much bought a lot of my groceries at. Shout out to Monterey. Yeah, had a Whole Foods over there and a bunch of restaurants over there that was really good. Um, Yeah. So when we will come back, we will drive to the beach. We'll have a good, because I always like to have a good time. We'll go to the beach and eat. Excuse me. I'm getting over a slight little cold. But yeah, shout out to Monterey. Yeah, go to the beach. The beaches, the sights out there is nice and beautiful. You can go to the beach over there, sit back, eat you a good sandwich, or have you some good salads. You know, whatever you want. Go to the beach area. They have benches out there, nice and sunny. You can bring your own little chairs, sit back, relax, and I see the nice ocean water, feel the breeze. I like doing that. So I would do that from time to time because I didn't really want to be in that area because they had too much stuff going on. And I wanted to get away as far as possible to enjoy myself while I lived in that area. So upon coming back one day, we're coming back. I had to park my car in the garage, remember, because I paid the $90 for a year pass. Um, as I'm coming back, I'm about to turn into the area where we live at, and there's a gentleman. He's walking down the street with blood on his head, and I'm like, "What the?" You know what I mean? Like, what the? You know? So as I turn back, like I can't really turn because I don't want to, get into an accident. So I'm telling my family member, "You see that?" And I was like, "What?" And he's like, "Somebody took my money and hit me in the head. They took my money and hit me in the head." And I'm like, "Wow." So they would take advantage of a lot of elderly people there, attack them, take their money. I had to pick a guy up off the ground one day because they had attacked him. I pretty much picked him up and put him into his wheelchair. I had to wait till the police and the fire department came because they would do stuff like that. They would take their money. Um, you know, I feel kind of really sad about it because I had to go to school and go to work, so I couldn't like stand guard and you know look over every person every 5 seconds. So but what I did do is when I had a chance to, I would, try to do my due diligence. And if I seen something that was out of place, I would speak up, say something, or I would intervene fast as possible. But yeah, I feel sorry for the gentleman. The police came later on. I'm pretty sure they took a report. But yeah, that was wild, man. They just attacked them, and this would go on frequently a lot, you know. And some of those people weren't even on drugs. And one lady told me that she didn't want to be on drugs. She said she was so scared that she had to buy the drugs from the drug dealers and she would throw it away or call the police. And she was like, "It's not little to nothing they'll do around here, but take it from you, make a report." And she said somehow the same drug dealers and gang members would know you told on them and then now do stuff to you. And I said, "Wow, that's deep." I said, "You got to move out of here." So you got to move out. I ended up moving to Santa Cruz City, found a better place. And I think the lady that was in the military and the gentleman that was in the military, they moved out of the building too. Also, um, the other one, I'm not sure what happened to those two. Um, and the guy, the Francis Gritson, uh, he ended up moving to Santa Cruz too. And once again, he's back at his own little, you know, little games that he did before, selling drugs, cooking drugs. Um, I seen that to be a very big, like a letdown. Like, wow, this man caused so much catastrophic problems for people in that building. The family that had the kids, they had to move out. They had to find another place. I knew that the Salvation Army was working with them more because they had children. So, we had to stay in a Salvation Army shelter for a little bit, but we stayed in a hotel for like probably 2 weeks. Then we stayed in a shelter. Then we got a place. But yeah, it was something very traumatic. So that was a first story time. I want to get into another story time. I'll tell you another story. First, I'm gonna play another slapper slumper real quick. Let you hear that real quick, and then I'm gonna get into another little story time because yeah, there's always time for a story. You can hear the raindrops because it's raining really big out here at the moment. So, Rose Room Discussion. MLRose, your host, trademark intelligent sound. Hello. All right. You're back with the Rose Room Discussion with your host, MLR Rose, trademark intelligent sounds. And this is story time one, story time two. I'm about to get into. All right. Yeah. That Slapper Slumper is available on SoundCloud. All you got to do is look at my name, MLR Rose, and you can look it up right there too, also on SoundCloud. And you can see my two accounts, and majority of all my SoundCloud music and remixes are all free for you to listen to. So yeah, story time two. Okay, so I just gave you a little rundown about 30 West Beach Street, and that's in Watsonville, California. Once again, for those who didn't hear it, Watsonville, California. The place just can't be beat. Yeah. So, moving on. Um, the next one I wanted to talk about was another place, but I want to give you, I guess, another city because I didn't have a lot of, I had some experience that was bad there, but that place right there took the cake. That Watsonville place, that was a really crazed place. I've never lived anywhere like that before until I lived there. Um, I'm gonna go back a ways back, and I'm gonna talk about a place I lived in called South Sunshine, 961 South Sunshine Avenue, and that was in El Cajon, California. So El Cajon, yeah, place where the players roam. Um, I had moved there in around like 2000, I think around 2000. Um, I was working for the Forest Service. I did my first year in wildland firefighting with the Hot Shots, Laguna Hot Shots. Shout out to them. Um, I did like 5 seasons with them, and a previously 4.5 seasons with another department for young adults that were trying to get into fire. So anyway, long story short, me and my roommate moved in. Um, his name was Philippe. I'm just going. I'm not going to give his whole name. Just Philippe. Um, we had moved into the place. It was there a lady named Tammy and a guy named Dan. Uh, they were very like I guess the guy was much more the manager. He was much more like quiet, but the wife was very talkative. At that time, I didn't know what crystal meth was, so I didn't know about people having those type of like movements. You know, like really jittery and talking and wired. I didn't know nothing about that. So later on, I found out she was a crystal meth addict. Um, and that's why she was so much talking and like just telling everybody's business. I didn't even really want to know people's business. But long story short, we moved in. Um, Place was quiet at first. Wasn't a lot of stuff going on. Me and my roommate was there. It was pretty much quiet. Everybody knew we did fire, so they knew that sometimes we were going to be leaving during the fire season, and sometimes some of our fire seasons will go longer. Um, Long story short, um, the first year I moved in there, it was really strange because my roommate had stayed for 6 months. Then he ended up finding another place. I guess he wanted to help out. He wanted to get a house, so he ended up leaving the lease. So I took over the lease. It was a 2 bedroom. It was okay at first. It wasn't really up to par. Like it wasn't a nice plush place, but it was okay. Um, Within that time of the 6 months, all of a sudden, the sun came out, so it started to get summertime, really, really, really deep. Because we just went from I moved in during the winter time, so I moved in during the winter. This was right after our fire season, so we was over with probably in I think October. So October, November, December, then January, February, around March and that's when it started to get very active. They started to move a lot of wildness in, um, just people that were like, I guess, from the southeast San Diego side, and from a lot of like people from San Isidro and other places. So I'm from Northern California. I'm not familiar with all the stuff that goes on in Southern California, but I had to get familiar at that time because the place is very jumping, as they would say. Um, Lo and behold, there's a lot of young girls frequenting the neighborhood. I thought it was like a school or something, or some type of place where young girls would go to, or I thought it was like some type of place. I didn't really explore the neighborhood. Um, I did my job. I'll come home. I'll pretty much stay in the house. And then when I had time, I would either go to school and get certifications or certificates or go to the gym because that's what pretty much my priorities was when I was doing that type of work to stay in shape and to stay educated on the stuff I need to know about fire science. Um, but I didn't really hang in the area. I didn't really know nothing about the neighborhood, like the stuff that was going on. But what I got a shocker was that where I lived at, it was called a blade area on the other side. And it was called El Cajon Boulevard. So they called it a blade. So that city, El Cajon, at that time, they had a big problem with human trafficking and a lot of young girls being, led into that type of lifestyle. And there was a lot of stuff going on. Um, I myself um, took it upon myself to take a video. That's what I did. Took a video recording because why not? Because, I wanted to show this to people because I didn't know nothing about the area. Then I come to find out later on that there's a lot of people that are pandering, um, stuff of that nature happening in that city. They had a multiple raids later on. They ended up cleaning up the area momentarily while I was there. There was a lot of young girls. I think it was also a police officer who was arrested due to the fact that he was engaged with something with a young underage girl in that area. And then there was a bunch of different people from the city and county who were caught soliciting young women in sting raids. So it was a very, very rough experience to see. Um, I then did what most people would do. You just pretty much keep your eyes and ears and antennas up and checked out the atmosphere around you. And lo and behold, um, One of my coworkers had moved into the apartment complex with me where I lived at. He needed to find a place that was not high at rent. You know, like I said, they had a discount because was doing firefighting, so I didn't pay the whole full thousand and something. They had gave me a discount for like 700 or something a month, which was pretty cool. The owner was really nice. The management was something different because come to find out later on that it was people staying in the apartment complex, and what happened was they were involved with these human trafficking things. They were paying the manager wife and him money to stay there, and some of those underage girls that were there were living there. And sometimes I would figure out like, why is all these little kids around here? Why is some of these places, apartments filled with people that look like children, and they don't look old enough, and some of them had like 7 people, 8 people, and I'm like, wow, the 2 bedroom, 9 people, 10 people, and then they're fighting outside, and I was like, wow, this is kind of getting a little too out of hand. So yeah, I had to move out of that place too. But the police came, they did a big raid. I guess it was a shooting there. One of the gentlemen who had gave the manager, Tammy, and her husband some I guess drugs. He was not paying rent. I had contacted the the main owner and told him, hey, I work, I do this type of stuff. I don't want to live in an environment, it's little kids here, you know, what's going on? I want my money back, or either I'm gonna put a lawsuit in because like I said, this is getting kind of hectic. You got kids here that are living in an apartment throwing parties, and come to find out, when he did an investigation, there were 2 pedophiles living there. There were one, two, three, 4 different groups of people living there that never had a lease. Um, the manager had tried to forge one of my checks and tried to charge me extra for money because I had a good job, and it didn't work out in her favor. They ended up getting fired. Everything came out. The company ended up changing hands. It's still there right now. The apartment complex, 961 South Sunshine. You can see it right there in El Cajon. You can go right to your local pages, or either you can go to the internet right now. Internet, worldwide internet is easy to find anything, or Google Map, or any type of website give you information and details on it. But yeah, um, they had a lot of turnover over there for some apparent reason. It was just a lot of child trafficking events going on, human trafficking. Um, and I had to, I guess, help uncover it by contacting the main owner and let him know that the management had tried to overcharge me, and upon me threatening to get my lawyer, he decided to do his own due diligence and investigate for himself, and found out that it was multiple people, not even on the lease in his apartment complex, and some of them were underage kids living in apartments. Like I said, probably like 5 to 8 of them, 20, 19-year olds, 22. We lived next door to one of them. They would fight each other um in the apartment complex. Like, they would literally fight it, then they would be fighting each other in the apartment itself, in the apartment rooms. One night I was on my way to Northern California the next day to celebrate a family member's birthday. So we were trying to get some sleep and go to sleep kind of early. And the next thing you know, we hear cursing and cussing, and we hear females yelling at each other and fighting. My mother, was there, so she knocked on asked them what was going on, and they told us something that they were catching a fade or something. Something. I was like, wow, this is deep. So the young girls would come there because they were being prostituted, and the pimp, which was living there, would have the girls fighting in the apartment rooms for whatever purpose and reasons, I don't know what was going on. I contacted management. Management act like they couldn't do anything, and that's when I had to take the next step and contact the owner because I was like, hey, you got to either give me a new place or you got to give me one of the because I was looking at another place that was in I think it was Chula Vista or either it was in I think it was somewhere else. Uh I'm not sure if it was one of those places that was much they also owned it, but it was much more of an upscale place. And the rent had the same type of adjustment for people who worked for law enforcement, military, firefighting. They gave you a discount. And I said, hey, if you could move me into this place, that would be cool. I wouldn't trip, but I can't stay here with this stuff going on and people fighting and the shooting had happened in the parking lot because the gentleman that lived there that was in a gang that was not supposed to be there, he had shot at the manager's apartment and wanted his money back for the drugs that he gave them, according to the police, which I also videotaped that too also. And they were not really ashamed to tell everybody what was going on. They were like transparent right there. They was pretty much transparent, just giving out all the details of information. The news came. People were out there. The whole neighborhood was trying to help the police department find the bullets on the ground. Like everybody was really trying to get rid of the situation because it had gotten so out of control. That's what happens. When you don't have any type of law and order, and you're allowing children to act like adults that are not really mature, and you're giving them places, and they're doing all kind of wild behavior. I mean, thank goodness because if I didn't step up and say anything, the neighborhood would have been had became a trash heap. It would have been just crazy because there was another neighborhood that was like probably I would say 5 miles away on the same area of El Cajon, and the kids that were underage actually took over the complex. They had to, I guess, come in with a raid. I seen like the police. I seen the ones with the armored vehicles come in. They had to get them all extracted out of there. They had so many vans of people being arrested because what happened is once again one of the management was on drugs. They got one of those type of I guess those pimps. He brought a bunch of these underage girls there. They were living there, um, paying the management. And what happened is he brought his friends there. There were other drug dealers and gang members. And by the time it was over with, some of the residents had got moved out. They left out. By the time it was over with, it was just nothing but kids in there. Like, I'm talking about these are like 19, 16, 18, 20-year olds and under. And they're just running around fighting, yelling, drinking, loud music. It was just crazy. I couldn't even understand how this was even. I thought I was looking at some type of episode of I guess I don't know, Law and Order or something. I didn't know what the hell was going on. I said, wow, this is crazy. They have all this going on, and you would think like it was like a norm, and then like probably 7 miles away you'll cross over, and there's a beautiful neighborhood with none of this going on. And you go back 7 miles down the other way, and then boom, right here in this complex is like craziness. Then you go 5 miles down where I'm at, and that's like the other area. Then they had a big park in El Cajon, and they would all come there and have burnouts, and it was just really wild until they finally got the area under control. By the time I had left, they finally got it under control. But yeah, once again, another episode of story time right there. That's the second story. I'm gonna get into the last little part of conversation. I'm gonna come back once again. This is MLRose, the Rose No Discussion. I'm on the campus today. On the campus. So yeah, that's just one of my little stories I had to go through. I wanted to share with you. MLRose, the Rose Room Discussion. I'm right here on the campus live today. I just went over story time one. That was in Watsonville, California. Story time two was about a place in El Cajon, California. And I'm just going to kick you right now with some real conversation. Once again, that track right there is available on SoundCloud under my name, Michael L. Rose. You can look it up. I do a lot of remixes, um, and a lot of just house style, and remix and instrumental music. I don't rap. I do instrumentals, remixes, and house style, jam, ballet type of music, and things of that nature, and a lot of remixes because it's fun to do. Use my art for a purpose. Um, yeah. So just real talking conversation. Real conversation for you a little bit. Um, yeah. Right now we're dealing with a lot of I guess they would call these river river storms or something like that in Northern California. A river storm system or something of that nature. I'm not 100% sure. I can look it up a little bit more into it. Atmospheric. I think it's an atmospheric river storm. I think that's what it's called. Well, anyway, the nature. I'm not a person that does weather. So, but yeah, yesterday was nice and sunny, but today for some reason it's raining again. So, but at the same time, in Northern California or in California, period, we need the water. Because remember, I think a few years ago we was dealing with a drought. Probably like 4 years ago, 5 years ago, it was extreme drought. So this water is pretty much good for the soil, good for the earth, good for lakes, ponds, rivers. You know, just good for the environment itself. Um, I know sometimes rainy days get people kind of in the mood to be a little under the weather, but yeah, don't look at it in a bad manner. Look at it as it's helping out the environment. Other than that, there's been a bunch of different earthquakes going on. I think it's the island somewhere. Um, they're evacuating some people. The island itself, I think, is having some type of issue. Um, I think there's like probably been like probably 30 earthquakes. Um, I think I'm going to look it up just real quick. I'm going to ask Google because that's what it's for. It helps out a lot. Here we go. I think it's called Nepal. I'm not sure. Let's look it up real quick. Earthquakes happening near volcano site. Earthquakes happening near volcano site on small island. Small island having birth earthquake. Okay, yep, it's evacuations near Greece. Okay, that's where it's at. I think it's pronounced Santorini. I think that's a state of emergency declared after quakes. 2 hours more than 1,100 people have already left the island. But they're saying that this island um, is actually an old volcano. So that's one of the issues that's going on right now. That's in the media. It's on every streaming platform, all media websites. Island near Greece. It's well-known popular island. They had multiple earthquakes. They said they had over like 30 earthquakes, and they're having signs of steam. So the steam is rising from some of these areas, and in the middle it has a large, like active volcano, but it's like really been quiet. So it's just nothing more of like small steam, but now it's starting to pick up. so they're kind of scared that something could happen. Um, Also, too, there's a lot of major flash flood warnings here in Northern California, mudslides, things of that nature. Because remember all the victims of the recent fires, um, and also the one in the LA. My condolences go out to anybody that were affected from that situation in Southern California. um, my condolences to anybody that lost anyone in those fires. Yeah, it's a bunch of stuff going on, and on top of that, you know, we also heard that all the stuff that was going on the internet, kind of them canceling um, all this support for low income families, was only a minimum amount of time they had to do this. They was just doing this for a small freeze. It wasn't a permanent freeze. So yeah, good thing that didn't cause a lot of people to have ah sorry about that. I got tongue tied. I meant to say happy. That didn't cause a lot of people to be misplaced and didn't have a place or a place to be at, because I guess that would affect a lot of families. So yeah, so that's a good thing now. But in the news there's a bunch of other stuff going on. Locally here in the Bay Area, a few things are happening. You know, we get into some of the news locally popping off. Um, and the good thing also too, the Warriors won last night. If you're a Warriors fan, not sure if you are or not, but I am. On top of that, um, you know, it's normal stuff happening around the world. I guess the president elect is back in the news again, and I guess there's going to be protests in the Bay Area in San Francisco again. The recent protest was for the migrants that were being how can I state this? Um, Being escorted by the ICE agents. And then the other one happened with the productive rights. The other one is happening coming up soon. Is federal workers are going to, I guess, strike, some of them, downtown San Francisco. So be prepared for that. If you're in that area, could be a lot of traffic, could be a lot of things going on. Um, Top of that, the Grammys, very strange. I don't know what that was about. A lot of people wearing strange costumes. I'm not really a Grammys type of person. The only thing I got was the weird outfits. Kind of stuck out. I didn't really too much understand what they were about, but I don't know what the motive and rhyme and reason behind some of those outfits were. But it could be for political standpoints, could be for things that they're standing up for, you know. So that was a eye opener. Some food was also recalled. I think it was some packaged salads. So be careful when you're going to some of these stores. I think they were in the Midwest and the East Coast. I'm not sure on the West Coast, but they had some E. coli um, situations in salads. Oh yeah, and then rest in peace to Tiger Woods' mother. His mother passed away. That was in the news recently. My condolence goes out to him. Um, and the deadline once again for federal workers, it's coming up. Um, Eat your vegetables. You know, have some fruits, things of that nature. Once again, they're having the E. coli uh, problem again with the meat. Be careful at certain stores if you're buying, because it's the issue again. Some reason that's back at it again. But yeah, pretty much that's pretty much it at this point in time. I want to appreciate you for listening to the Rose Room Discussion Podcast Show. This is your host, MLRose, Trademark Intelligent Sound, and hopefully we'll get some sun soon in Northern and Southern California. Other than that, thank you for tuning in. Have a great day. I'm gonna leave you again like I always do. One of the tracks I produced, and I'm gonna have myself a good lunch in a moment because I just got my taxes. Well, I got the state money back, but I didn't get everything else back yet. But I want to go enjoy myself real quick and splurge on myself for the moment. All right. Once again, this is MLR Rose with the Rose of Discussion podcast show. Trademark Intelligent Sounds. Thank you for tuning in and have a great day.